There are calls for an overhaul of the controversial NAPLAN testing, with preliminary results from the 2019 test showing a lack of improvement in results across most age groups. Education Minister Dan Tehan joins me now. Good morning to you, Minister. Thanks for your time this morning. So, is it a fail for NAPLAN?
Morning, Peter. Well, let's not blame the test. The test gives us the results and the data that we can look at and work out, OK, what are we doing right? Where are we going wrong? And what the test shows overall is that at primary school level, we're seeing some improvement. At the secondary school level, there is more work to be done.
All right, what sort of work needs to be done? I mean, because some of this, we won't go through it all because we don't have time, but one of the figures that does really sound alarming, Minister, 17% of Australian Year 9 students failed to meet minimum standards in this year's NAPLAN tests. How do you explain that lack of improvement?
Well, we've got to make sure that we continue to invest in our schools, and we're doing that through record funding, but we've got to turn that record funding into better results. Now, how do you do that? There is a myriad of ways. What the Commonwealth is leading the way on is we want to make sure that every student, for every 12 months of learning, gets 12 months of improvement. We want to bring a unique student identifier number in so that we can map students' progress. But I would say to the states and territories also, look at what South Australia is doing. Introduce a phonics test in year 1 so that we can see straight away whether the literacy results of students at a young age are where they should be. If they're not, we can put improvement into them. So we also should look at giving more autonomy to principals, decluttering the curriculum, making sure that school councils, parents have a greater say in schools. So give more autonomy to local schools. These are all the types of things that state and territory governments could take on board.
So are you suggesting that there's not much more that the government can do? I mean, bearing in mind that there has been a massive increase in the amount of funding that the government has chipped in. So does this show that there is a huge disconnect between the government and the money that it's chipping in and the results that you're getting?
Well, one of the things that we're always looking to do is work cooperatively with state and territory governments. They run the schools. We're obviously a large funder, but state and territory governments run the schools. So what we're doing is we're encouraging them to get a fundamental shift to make sure that literacy and numeracy are back as foundations for everything, all learning that takes place. We also want to make sure we keep investing in ensuring we're getting teaching quality. We put money into Teach for Australia so we can bring graduates in from other disciplines into teaching. But we also have to look at decluttering the curriculum. We've got to look at giving principals greater autonomy, give school boards and councils a greater role in those days. They're the sorts of things we've got to look at.
OK, well, you brought up teachers there. So is the teaching, and with respect to all the teachers who are doing a great job out there, but is the teaching system as a whole not up to scratch?
No, I think what we've got to do is provide the assistance that the teachers need. To start with, let's make sure that the teachers can go back to fundamentals and teach the things that they're in the classroom to teach. So we've got to declutter the curriculum. We've got to make sure that it's not bureaucrats at the state and territory level who are dictating to them what they should or shouldn't be doing in the classroom. Let them get on and teach. So we've got to localise more the authority that schools have. I've visited schools right across the country. I can tell you, the greater independence you give to a principal and you give to a school, the better outcomes you get.
Minister, you have a lot on your plate at the moment. I want to talk to you about universities now. What are you moving to change following your discussions with Vice-Chancellors this week?
So what we're going to be doing is setting up a foreign interference task force, and I'll be announcing that at the Press Club today. I met with Vice-Chancellors 3 weeks ago. This followed a cyber intrusion at one of our leading universities, and what we discussed was how do we make sure that we are on top of the evolving security threat which is occurring in this nation when it comes to foreign interference. We've set up this task force. It's going to look at 4 key areas, and it will make sure that we continue to develop and evolve the protections we have in place at our universities so that we're matching the evolving nature of the threat.
So in your view, what are the no-go areas when it comes to research and foreign students at the moment? What are the areas areas that shouldn't be gone to?
Well, so what we've done is one of the key areas of focus for this task force will be looking at research and collaboration, and we'll be putting in place the policies that we need so that we can make sure that that research is being used not only for Australia's interests but for global good. Now, we need to step through with the university sector. We need greater collaboration between our agencies and the sector so we identify, all right, what are the protections the universities need to be putting in place to keep this information secure. Now, whether it is particular areas that we quarantine or whether there is a system across the board which makes sure that we've got the proper protections put in place for whatever research is taking place, that's something this task force will investigate and report back to government and the sector on by November.
Minister, I know this isn't your portfolio, but you are a senior minister. I'm just wondering if you have any concerns about the detention of Wang Hengjun at the moment.
Well, the Foreign Minister has obviously expressed her concerns on behalf of the government and the nation. So we will continue to discuss and make representations to the Chinese government on this. The Foreign Minister has already done that on, I think, 2 or 3 occasions, and we will continue to make sure that we're getting consular access to him and providing the support that he needs.
Should Australia update its travel advice for Australians travelling to China?
Well, obviously that's something for the Foreign Minister to decide. Obviously, we update our travel advisories across the board for all countries all the time. So I'm sure this is something that she'll be looking at as well as looking at what we're doing with travel advisories with other countries. But that ultimately will be a decision that she will take advice on from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
Has there been any suggestions within the government about torture at the moment, the word torture and the conditions that he might be under?
Look, I haven't heard anything along those lines, but obviously this is something that the Foreign Minister is engaging with the Chinese government on. This is something that she's following very closely, and I think those types of questions are best asked to her.